It's really sad, man. Every time I think the WNBA can't look worse, they find a way to do it. So now we got Tiffany Hayes. She's on Threads responding to fans who are talking crazy about Caitlin Clark. And it's just like, Tiffany Hayes, all right, you are a good basketball player. You had every opportunity to show that you was better than Caitlin Clark. And in all reality, you couldn't do it. All right? You was doing you. But when Clark landed that bomb from Baghdad on you, you quickly got in your feelings, which made no sense because you was crying the whole game.
Tiffany Hayes made one massive mistake against Caitlin Clark. She thought getting physical, talking trash, and clapping in Clark's face would throw her off. But instead, she woke up the most dangerous version of Caitlin Clark we have seen all season. Because after that moment, Clark did not just play better. She started hunting Golden State. And the scary part is, the more emotional the game became, the more locked in Caitlin Clark looked.
Now, you would think, with everything that has happened online with Tiffany Hayes and the hot mic situation, she would have just left the entire thing alone. Well, I'm here to tell you, she opted not to do that. Now she's going online, going back and forth with Caitlin Clark fans, and she's subliminally still going on with a verbal assault against Caitlin Clark and her fan base. Bro, this whole thing is getting bad. And as of right now, to me, from the outside looking in, the WNBA has to do something. Now, I know everybody got like the freedom of speech and all of that, but when it starts turning into hate speech, that's where we got to draw the line. Because as of right now, it is looking like Caitlin Clark is a target simply because she's having a spectacular start of the season. All of this hate is starting because Caitlin Clark is whooping ass and taking names.
The Golden State Valkyries came into this matchup with a clear plan. Pressure Clark, bump her, trap her, make her uncomfortable before she gets into rhythm. That has become the league's favorite strategy against Caitlin Clark. Teams know if they let her walk into her offense, the game can change in seconds. One deep three, one full court pass, one transition push, one crowd explosion. Suddenly, the entire building belongs to her. So Golden State tried to stop that before it started, but this game proved something the rest of the WNBA should probably be worried about. When Caitlin Clark gets emotional, it does not always break her rhythm. Sometimes it sharpens it. And Tiffany Hayes found that out the hard way.
Yesterday we got the insane game. We got an insane game right here between Caitlin Clark versus Tiffany Hayes. And this is like good old fashioned. This is good old fashioned competitive basketball hatred. This is pure ball. Nothing more, nothing less. Yes, we have Caitlin Clark haters posting think pieces on Threads, getting hundreds of likes saying that teams should sign dev players whose only purpose is to go out and injure Caitlin Clark. But like, you know that's going to happen. These Threads is literally the most unhinged, like WNBA Threads is the most unhinged place in the world. It is the most unhinged place in the world. And I came from the NBA 2K community. I didn't think it was going to get worse than 2K. 2K is the most toxic gaming. I didn't realize it was going to get so much worse with this stuff. But Tip Hayes versus Caitlin Clark was a movie. First of all,
early in the game, Hayes came out aggressive. She attacked the rim, she hit tough shots. She played with confidence. And after one bucket, she started clapping right in Caitlin Clark's face. The cameras caught it, the crowd felt it, the benches noticed it. And in that moment, this stopped feeling like a normal regular season game.
In the defense of Caitlin did get away with more push-offs today than she normally does, but as a referee, if you're going to let her get mauled, you have to allow the push-off. That's what I was saying at the start of the year when Caitlin was getting called for the offensive fouls and push-offs. I'm like, if the referees are going to call people for hand-checking you at the halfway line, then obviously you can't push off. And I think Caitlin doesn't even get separation of the push-offs. It's actually frustrating. It really, really frustrates me in general when it comes down to Caitlin with the push-offs, because I'm like, she actually doesn't get anything from the push-offs. She does it out of habit. That is the most frustrating thing about it, is that like she does it out of habit. But like Caitlin Clark obviously getting into it immediately through this whole game. Like they were already getting into it a little bit. Tip Hayes was cooking Caitlin. This was a like old-fashioned old-fashioned two players going at each other, pure basketball shit talk. Like, this is what you want to see. So Tip Hayes is trying to guard Caitlin. Boom, Caitlin, easy. I don't know what she's calling for. Caitlin got hacked before that, by the way. There's no contact there at all. But like, immediately, Caitlin Clark from the logo here. Tip Hayes, I think, had scored in the previous possession. Caitlin Clark goes into that, and you see Tip Hayes during this. Look, watch Tip Hayes. She immediately makes contact with her. That could have been, like, I don't think it should have been. She had already landed, but like, I'm sorry, the bump there, that could have been a rebounding foul. That could have, and in the WNBA, that's an and one. In Europe, that's not an and one.
You could see Clark's face change. She was not smiling. She was not backing down. She looked angry, locked in, dangerous. And that is when the entire energy of the game shifted, because Tiffany Hayes was not just challenging Clark physically, she was challenging her emotionally. And that matters. Because ever since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, players have tried to test her. They have bumped her. They have trapped her. They have picked her up full court. They have tried to speed her up, frustrate her, and prove she is not as special as the attention says she is. But this time, Clark did not shrink. She answered. And she answered in the coldest way possible.
We got to give credit where credit's due to Caitlin Clark, because this is where you're like, okay, yeah, this is a fucking demon. This is the player that we wanted to see. Washington woke it up. But Caitlin, you like that. Get out of my face. Come on, get it. And Mai Shines Allen immediately steps in to stop it from happening. Like, this is a big thing. Like, Caitlin absolutely cooking Tip Hayes. That being said, to act like Tip Hayes didn't cook Caitlin with that step back earlier on in the game. Like, Tip Hayes absolutely cooked Caitlin. Absolutely cooked Caitlin here. And like, I gotta say, like, we're not gonna pretend that Tip Hayes didn't get hers. Caitlin won the game in the end, but Tip Hayes absolutely got hers.
Clark crossed half court. Hayes was right there. The defense was waiting. And without hesitation, Clark pulled up from ridiculous range. Splash, a logo 3. Right in the middle of the moment. But the shot was only half the story. Because after it dropped, Clark stepped toward Hayes. She stared her down, and she started talking back.
Now, unfortunately, Tiffany Hayes was just a victim. Now, we know that Caitlin Clark likes to talk smack and do her thing, but what athlete don't talk smack when they hot, on fire, and then you keep poking a bear? Like, why keep poking a bear? Now, mind you, they got to play the Valkyries again this upcoming Wednesday. Now, Caitlin Clark is at the Indy 500. Look like she's not tripping off none of this stuff involving Tiffany Hayes. She has not spoke about it. She has not tweeted about it. She is minding her own business, taking pictures with babies, out there being the Grand Marshal, well, the best Grand Marshal ever. Thousands of people walking up to get her autograph. But instead, we got this hate speech coming out of the pipeline in regards to Tiffany Hayes. Something has to be done, bruh. Something has to be done.
Golden State looked rattled. The shots that were falling early stopped looking easy. Drives to the rim became rushed. Layups started missing. Possessions got messy. And while the Valkyries were trying to regain control, Clark looked more comfortable with every minute. That is the part that should scare the rest of the league.
Today, Tiffany Hayes, she started a fight that she wasn't ready to engage in. As soon as Caitlin Clark stared her down after hitting a logo 3 in her face, said, "Hey, it's me and you, girl. What you got?" From that moment on, Tiffany Hayes collapsed. ISO ball, she would get, they would switch CC onto her. She would try to take her to the rack. Tiffany Hayes throwing up garbage at the rim. Layups off the backboard, off the stanchion, missing the whole entire, missing it completely. Tiffany Hayes, she picked a fight with CC. She wasn't ready to get into it. And I'm saying she picked a fight because she started it. Caitlin Clark finished it.
Because this was not just Caitlin Clark hitting deep threes. This was the full Caitlin Clark package. Pull-up bombs, quick reads, thread the needle passes, transition pressure, mid-range shots, physical defense, and even hard screens. She finished with 22 points and 9 assists, barely missing another double-double while controlling the pace of the game. But the numbers do not fully explain what happened. Because this was about control. Clark controlled the tempo. She controlled the emotion. She controlled where the defense had to stand. And she controlled the crowd. Every time Golden State tried to make the game uncomfortable, Clark turned that discomfort into fuel. That is why this performance felt different. For months, critics have said the blueprint against Caitlin Clark is physical basketball. Make her work, make her angry, make her complain, make her rush. But against Golden State, that plan backfired. The more physical the game became, the more aggressive Clark became. The more Hayes talked, the more Clark responded. The more the Valkyries tried to trap her, the more she punished them with passes. And the moment they gave her space, she launched from a different area code. That is not easy to guard, because with Clark, defenders are stuck in a nightmare. If they sag off, she shoots. If they press up, she drives. If they trap, she passes. If they get physical, she gets fired up. And once she gets fired up, the game can completely flip.
Then at the end of the game, oh, I'm gonna cry about it. I'm gonna cry to the referees. They don't call anything. The Golden State Valkyrie tried their best to rough up Caitlin Clark yesterday. Natalie Nakaze, ooh, I figured Caitlin Clark out. She tried her best to rough her up. But something that you didn't know last year, Natalie, Cece was injured. So all of this, ooh, I have her figured out, that you were convincing yourself of. Perhaps not, Natalie. Perhaps not.
Aaliyah Boston dominated inside. She gave Indiana a real presence in the paint, attacking the glass and punishing Golden State around the rim. Kelsey Mitchell added scoring pressure. Sophie Cunningham brought energy and toughness. And the Fever started playing with a level of confidence that matched Clark's intensity. But make no mistake, this game belonged to Caitlin Clark. Because Boston could punish them inside because Clark was terrifying them outside. That is the hidden power of Caitlin Clark.
Now here we go on the other side. We got Tiffany Hayes taking it to the rack here. Tiffany Hayes taking it to the rack on Caitlin Clark. Starts clapping in Caitlin Clark's face. Takes it to the rack on Caitlin Clark. Starts clapping in Caitlin Clark's face. Jaws at her right after. Jaws at her right after. At this point, do you know what Caitlin Clark said? And I'm going to bring back our good old friend, someone who we miss dearly. Do you know what Caitlin Clark said here?
Was, hey coach, they woke a monster.
They woke a fucking monster. You're damn right, Christy. You are damn right. What did she say here?
You know, I just tried to keep her spirits. I mean, the thing she said was, hey coach, they woke a monster.
They woke a monster. Yeah, they woke the monster. they woke demon time, Caitlin Clark. They woke up. Oh, fuck all this. Caitlin Clark. They woke up. Oh, you're gonna clap in my face? Caitlin Clark. They woke up the wrong side. You want to keep her calm. You know, you want to keep her calm. You want to keep her passive. You don't want to get her too fired up. You don't want to get her too charged up, because that's when the Mamba part of her comes out. That's when the I'm going to slit your neck part of Caitlin Clark on the basketball court, of course. I'm going to kill you on the court. Caitlin Clark comes out. I'm going to crush everything you love on the court. Caitlin Clark. That's when it comes out.
She does not just score points. She changes the geometry of the floor. Defenders pick her up near half court, help defenders lean toward her. Bigs have to step higher than they want to. Passing lanes open, teammates get cleaner looks, and every possession feels like it could turn into a highlight. That is why one logo 3 can feel bigger than 3 points. It changes the defense, it changes the crowd, it changes the confidence of both teams. And in this game, it changed Tiffany Hayes. Because after the trash talk escalated, Hayes never looked like she had the same rhythm again. That is what fans noticed immediately. She started the game with confidence. But once Clark fired back, the whole situation flipped. And after the game, the drama did not stop. When Hayes spoke post-game, fans felt she tried to downplay what happened. Instead of simply admitting Clark took over, the message was more about Golden State needing to fix the little things. But that is why the reaction online exploded. Because fans were not buying it. This did not feel like a few little things. This felt like Caitlin Clark taking the game away from them. You do not accidentally stop a player from pulling up near the logo. You do not accidentally stop a player who is throwing full-court lasers. That is the bigger story. Last season, teams tested Clark to see if she could handle the physicality. Now, when they test her, she responds with deeper shots, louder moments, and more confidence. That is a dangerous evolution. Because if Caitlin Clark combines elite shooting, elite passing, and this kind of killer mentality, the Fever become a completely different problem. She is not just a scorer. She is not just a passer. She is not just a draw. She is the player who changes the emotional temperature of a game. And that is why the Tiffany Hayes moment mattered so much. It gave Clark a target. It gave the crowd a reason to explode. And it gave the Fever the edge they needed. Some players get quieter when the game gets heated. Caitlin Clark got louder. Some players avoid the moment when defenders start talking. Clark walked straight into it. Some players try to calm everything down. Clark turned the chaos into a weapon. And that is why this moment is going to keep getting replayed. The logo 3. The stare down, the jawing, the physicality, the crowd reaction, the post-game debate. It all pointed to the same thing. Caitlin Clark is no longer just the player everyone is watching. She is becoming the player opponents are afraid of waking up. And that is why Tiffany Hayes may have made the biggest mistake of the night. She tried to get under Caitlin Clark's skin, but all she really did was unlock her. Because Clark did not just win the moment, she owned it. She made the shot, she talked back, she controlled the pace, and she reminded everyone that if you turn a Caitlin Clark game into a personal battle, you better be ready for what comes next. Tiffany Hayes did not expose Caitlin Clark. She exposed what happens when you make Caitlin Clark angry. So now the question is simple. Did Tiffany Hayes make a huge mistake by waking up Caitlin Clark? Or is this just the beginning of Clark taking over the entire WNBA? Let me know in the comments. And if you're still watching, drop Clark woke up in the comments.
What a game. The Indiana Fever have finally beaten the Golden State Valkyries, and this game, you could cut the tension with a knife. It was chippy. It almost felt kind of like a powder keg that could explode at any moment. There were a lot of fouls, and each team was given 2 techs. That is 4 techs for the entire game, including one that Caitlin had no idea about.
Caitlin Clark came back from the injury drama. And one game later, the WNBA already had another controversy on its hands.
Great to be here with you guys today. Caitlin Clark makes her triumphant return. 22 points, 9 assists. She was this close to getting that double-double, but as soon as Stephanie White said, wait, she has 9 assists? You know what Stephanie White did? She said, hey, you, Missy, come here. Sit down right next to me on the bench. No double-double for you, Caitlin. You're gonna sit next to me. Oh, you hate to see it.
Because yes, the Indiana Fever beat the Golden State Valkyries 90-82. Yes, Clark finished with 22 points and 9 assists. And yes, Indiana got the win. But that is not the moment everyone is going to remember. Everyone is going to remember Caitlin Clark and Janelle Salon getting tangled up, emotions boiling over, and both players getting hit with technical fouls.
Things got a little edgy there right before halftime. Salute to Caitlin for standing up for herself and not taking any stuff from the Valkyries. Man, I don't think this was one of these situations where girls are hating on Caitlyn. I feel like this was just Caitlyn going after the ball. The girl hit her with a chicken wing. This was, the girl should have let Caitlyn foul her. Maybe they would have went to the line and got some cheap free throws. I do not think this has anything to do with girls hating on Caitlyn. I did not get any of that from the Valkyries today, man. I just got that they're a tough team, not like the tough as like the Raiders or the Detroit Pistons, but they're a tough, solid team. They play the right way. They're a very, very good team.
And that moment told us everything. Because this was not just a normal bit of contact. This was Caitlin Clark being tested again. Clark had just missed the previous game against Portland with back soreness. So before she even stepped onto the floor against Golden State, there were already questions everywhere. Was she healthy? Was Indiana being careful enough? Was the Fever handling her body properly? And could she still take the kind of physicality every team is clearly throwing at her? Golden State did not wait long to find out. They got into her space. They made her work. They tried to make the game uncomfortable.
Beat a very, very good team tonight, and we had to be tough. You're not going to beat them being soft. Caitlyn set the tempo by, standing up to them. And this right here, these girls was going at it. Everybody was trying to get switched on to Caitlyn. And this girl, I will say this girl right here crossed Caitlyn, almost made Caitlyn fall in the first half with a crossover. And she hit somebody else with a crossover. I forgot. I think Lexi, she hit with a crossover too later. This girl got a mean crossover, Tiffany Hayes. And she was getting to the rim at will. All they could get it, was giving it just as much as they was getting it. This is the type of team. And look at Maisha. Both teams players came in, but salute to Caitlyn, man. She showed good toughness tonight because
and eventually it boiled over. Clark and Salon got tangled during a rebound battle. Arms locked, bodies came together. The frustration spilled out. The officials stepped in, and both players were given technical fouls. Now, with most players, that is a quick moment and everyone moves on. But Caitlin Clark is not most players.
Oh, you hate to see it. Caitlin Clark, logo threes, FU threes, 3-level scorer, taking it to the rack, mid-range fadeaways, FUs. Love to see it. Her and Tiffany Hayes going head-to-head, face-to-face at half court. Caitlin Clark pulling up from long range. Tiffany Hayes turning around, looking at CC. Caitlin Clark says, let's go. Me and you right now. And as soon as that occurred, Tiffany Hayes couldn't hit a layup for the rest of the game. As soon as that moment transpired, Tiffany Hayes was too worried about sticking it to CC. She forgot how to play basketball. Ooh, it was bad.
Every bump gets clipped. Every reaction gets debated. Every hard foul turns into a national argument. And every time another player gets physical with Clark, fans ask the same question. Is this just normal WNBA toughness? Or is Caitlin Clark being targeted again? That is why this moment exploded. Not because it was the wildest altercation ever. It wasn't. It exploded because of the context.
In the fourth, Indiana Fever's clearly going to win this game, but that's not the storyline. The storyline of this today is the situation between Caitlin Clark. Now, yes, reports was coming out about her back injury. Now, after doing further research, looking online, going through some footage, and I do not got this clip of Caitlin Clark being on the bench and she did not look like she wanted to get up during a timeout break. Like most of the time we see Caitlin Clark jump up, go to the huddle with the team. It was a lot of times, a lot of this. It was a whole lot of her looking off into space. A lot of people is frustrated and pissed off with the Indiana Fever simply because there is strong a strong possibility that Caitlin Clark was potentially benched due to that situation that made headlines with Stephanie White, with her snatching her arm out of her hand, with her jawing off to Brianna January on the sideline. There is a lot of fans that is saying today that there is something going on with Caitlin, and there is definitely something going on within the locker room of the Indiana Fever, and that's what we're finna talk about right now. Live on American life.
Clark was coming off an injury concern. The Fever were already under pressure. Fans were already worried about whether Indiana was protecting her properly. Therefore, when Salon got physical and Clark reacted, it instantly became bigger than one play. It became another example of the Caitlin Clark problem the league still does not know how to handle, because Clark is in an impossible position. If she stays quiet, people say she is getting pushed around. If she fires back, people say she is too emotional. If she complains, people say she wants special treatment. If she says nothing, the physicality continues. So what is she supposed to do? That is why this moment mattered.
If they shell Scrub is telling the truth, how do you report no injuries yesterday? If you knew this was a strategy, it should have been announced at the beginning of the season, so people could buy tickets according to the Indiana Fever. Now, somebody sent me this photo of Caitlin Clark at practice yesterday, and this photo right here shows Caitlin Clark's demeanor yesterday at practice. So as you guys can see there, it's almost like they're making Caitlin Clark take a timeout. Not in game terms, but you know how like when you was a kid, you got to go take a timeout because you was mouthing off to the teacher. That's what this photo right here looks like. This looked like Caitlin Clark is just in limbo right now. And what's crazy about all of this is that
Clark did not just react because of one rebound. She reacted because every game now feels like a test. Opponents are not just trying to guard her, they are trying to shake her. They press her full court. They bump her off the ball. They crowd her landing space. They talk. They reach. They make her fight for every inch. And the goal is obvious. Make Caitlin Clark uncomfortable. Make her rush. Make her angry. Make her respond.
This is the junior goon squad to last year's Tina Charles, Marina Mabry-led Connecticut Sun. That is what the Golden State Valkyries tried to turn into with Caitlin Clark, but it did not matter because my demon was on timing and she tore him up. We got to get to Myisha Hines-Allen on this one. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. We got to get into it. So there was a few mix-ups here in this game versus the Golden State Valkyries, and what I noticed and what many people noticed was Myisha Hines-Allen was not hesitant. She was sprinting front and center. Who said what? Who trying to do what? Who trying to touch 22? What you want to do? We love that. We love that because for so long we watched Caitlin Clark get targeted and get flagrantly fouled, people poking her in the eye, people knocking her to the floor when the game is not even in play, and none of her teammates would step up and defend her. That's a part of the reason why Sophie Cunningham went up to 1 million followers overnight, because we saw, okay, she understands the benefits that she's gonna get coming to play with Caitlin Clark, the style of play, all of the off the court stuff, but at least she's willing to do her part and protect the GOAT. That's part of the reason why we love Sophie Cunningham, and that's just a fact.
Because if you can get Clark out of rhythm, maybe you can get the Fever out of rhythm too. That is the battle Golden State was trying to win. But here's the part that should worry the rest of the WNBA. Clark still got the last word. She finished with, because this was not just Caitlin Clark snapping. This was Caitlin Clark showing she can be pushed, tested, annoyed, and still impact winning. That is a scary sign. The league already knows about the shooting. Everyone knows about the logo threes. Everyone knows the passes can break a defense in 1 second. But the next stage of the Caitlin Clark story is about toughness. Can she survive the physicality? Can she handle the cheap contact? Can she stay composed when opponents clearly want a reaction? Against Golden State, we got part of that answer. She is not backing down. And honestly, that is what Fever fans wanted to see. They do not want Clark playing scared. They do not want her absorbing contact all night while everyone else just watches. They want to see the edge. They want to see her stand her ground. They want to see her make it clear that if teams are going to test her, she is not just going to smile and walk away every time. But Indiana also has to be careful, because this cannot become Clark fighting alone every night. That is how this gets dangerous. The Fever need to protect their star better, not by making her soft, by making sure she is not constantly left in chaos. Teammates need to be present. The coaching staff needs to control the tone. The offense needs to give her rhythm. And the Fever need to make sure Clark is playing basketball, not constantly battling through emotional traps. Because opponents are going to keep doing this. They have seen how big the spotlight gets when Clark reacts. They know if they bump her, grab her, talk to her, or frustrate her, the whole game changes. So every team will try some version of it. That is why the Salon moment matters going forward. It was not just one heated exchange. It was a preview. This is how teams are going to play Caitlin Clark. They will test her body. They will test her patience. They will test the refs. They will test Indiana's response. And they will try to find out how much she can take before she loses focus. But the problem for them is this. Clark is learning too. She is learning when to respond, when to walk away, when to use the anger, and when to turn the entire moment back into basketball. That is what happened against Golden State. Salon tried to match her physically. Clark fired back. The officials gave them both technicals. The clip went viral. But Clark gave them another national debate. And the Fever got another reminder of what they have. A player who can bring drama, attention, production, and winning all in the same night. That is why this game matters. Not because Caitlin Clark got a technical foul, but because she got tested, fired back, and still delivered. She came back from injury concerns. She took the contact. She stood her ground. She ran the offense. She helped Indiana win. And she reminded everyone that the Caitlin Clark experience is never just about the box score. It is the shot making, the passing, the pressure, the emotion, the controversy, the reaction, the feeling that every single game could turn into something bigger. And right now, the rest of the WNBA is learning a difficult lesson. You can try to rattle Caitlin Clark. You can try to make her uncomfortable. You can even drag her into a heated moment. But if she still walks out with the win, you did not expose her. You only made the spotlight brighter. And after what happened with Janelle Salon, one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark is not backing down from anyone. If you're still watching, drop Clark fired back in the comments.
Let's just give her a chance. And ultimately, so far defensively, she's been working out. But that was in preseason. But as of recent, I got to be honest, Raven Johnson has been a non-factor in these games. The Fever are still losing games. Their defense is still horrible. So I have to agree that maybe that might not have been the best draft pick. I just got to be honest. Preseason looked good. But as of right now, since the game got for real, she ain't been looking so hot. I just got to be honest with you guys. Now, with that being said, something else we're going to talk about in this video here is the Fever attendance dropping drastically.
The Indiana Fever have a Caitlin Clark problem, and it is not because Caitlin Clark is failing. It is because she might be the only thing still holding this whole thing together. Because right now, the Fever do not look like a team in control. They look like a franchise trying to manage the most valuable player in the WNBA without fully understanding what they actually have. And the scary part is this: the fans are starting to notice. The empty seats are starting to show it.
Now, with that being said, something else we're going to talk about in this video here is the Fever attendance drastically dropping. Now, we know fans have made it their business to put on quote-unquote fire Stephanie White boycott, and a lot of people are speaking with their pocketbooks and credit cards instead of going online making tweets, because we know if you want an organization to hear you got to hit them in the pockets. You got to hit them where it hurt, and that's exactly what the Indiana Fever fans has been doing to this organization. Now, we're not going to play all of this interview.
The frustration online is getting louder. And every time Caitlin Clark is sitting on the bench, every time she looks frustrated, every time Indiana's offense falls apart without her rhythm, the same question keeps coming back. What are the Fever doing? Because this is not just another player. This is Caitlin Clark. This is the player who turned Indiana into appointment television.
Here we go again. Kelly Krauskopf, Amber Cox move right here. Doing a last-minute update. Caitlin Clark is not playing tonight. And I got to count my blessings that I was able to watch Caitlin Clark. I was able to get signatures, the whole everything with her. I got the Caitlin Clark experience twice this year. I feel bad for the fans that travel so far to go see her play, and they won't be able to see her tonight. And they pull the carpet underneath all those fans. This is wrong, guys. This is wrong. They should have had this update a day before or two.
This is the player who made road games feel like playoff games. This is the player who dragged casual fans into the WNBA and made people check Feverbox scores like they were watching Steph Curry in his prime. But now, somehow, the same organization that benefited from her explosion is starting to look like it is getting in her way. And that is where the whole story changes. Because this is no longer just about Caitlin Clark taking deep threes. It is about whether Indiana knows how to build around her. Whether Stephanie White knows how to use her. Whether the front office understands what the fans are actually paying to see. And whether Caitlin Clark can keep carrying the pressure of an entire league, while her own team still looks unsure of how to maximize her.
This is Caitlin. She is not going to be benched if she's not injured, or she's not going to do any damage to herself. Like, she is a true competitor to her core. Seriously, this is Caitlin not playing. This is her wishing she was on the floor. This is her going, God, get me out there. She said recently, like, being on the bench, yes, she wants to be one of the best teammates she can in terms of being supportive, but God knows she does not want to be benched. She wants to be playing ball. She loves it more than anybody.
That is why this situation feels so dangerous. When Clark arrived, the formula seemed obvious. Put the ball in her hands, let her run, let her create, let her pull defenders out from the logo, let her make every other player on the floor better. That is what made her special at Iowa. That is what made her special as a rookie, and that is what made Fever games feel different. But under Stephanie White, fans are watching something that feels much more complicated. More stoppages, more strange rotations, more moments where Clark seems unable to fully find her rhythm, more stretches where the Fever look like they are trying to run a normal offense with a player who is anything but normal.
It's going to be a long season dealing with Stephanie White. Now, the Indiana Fever is currently playing a game, but I couldn't stomach watching it any longer. So I'll put it up here in the corner here so you guys can see it while I'm making this video. I just can't watch this game, guys. I'll be honest with you. It's the fourth quarter. It's currently how many minutes left? 7 minutes left in the fourth. Indiana Fever's clearly going to win this game, but that's not the storyline. The storyline of this today is the situation between Caitlin Clark. Now, yes, reports was coming out about her back injury. Now, after doing further research, looking online, going through some footage, and I do not got this clip of Caitlin Clark being on the bench, and she did not look like she wanted to get up during a timeout break. Like most of the time we see Caitlin Clark jump up, go to the huddle with the team. It was a lot of times, a lot of this. It was a whole lot of her looking off into space. A lot of people is frustrated and pissed off with the Indiana Fever simply because there is a strong possibility that Caitlin Clark was potentially benched due to that situation that made headlines with Stephanie White, with her snatching her arm out of her hand, with her jawing off to Breonna January on the sideline. There is a lot of fans that is saying today that there is something going on with Caitlin, and there is definitely something going on within the locker room of the Indiana Fever.
And that is the mistake. You do not bring in Caitlin Clark and ask her to fit into the system. You build the system around Caitlin Clark. That is what great franchises do. The Bulls did it with Michael Jordan. The Lakers did it with Kobe Bryant. The Warriors did it with Steph Curry. When you have a generational player, you do not make them smaller so the system feels cleaner. You make the system serve them. And right now, Fever fans do not believe Indiana is doing that. That is why the anger is growing. Because fans are not just watching losses. They are watching wasted momentum. They are watching a team that should feel electric start to feel uncertain. They are watching Caitlin Clark carry the spotlight. The criticism, the physicality, the expectations, and the pressure. While the people around her still look like they are trying to figure it out. And you can see why that would wear on anyone. Clark has already talked openly about the mental side of the game. She has spoken about trying to block out the noise, about staying locked in, about journaling, breathing, working on her mind, and understanding how taxing the spotlight can be. And that matters.
She needs to let the Indiana Fever know, I will walk. I will walk. Y'all get y'all stuff together. Stop putting your damn hands on me. Stop touching me. Stephanie White, get the hell out of my way on offense, or else I can take my talents elsewhere. I can go elsewhere. I can sell tickets out elsewhere. My fans already are starting to show up less and less because they don't trust y'all dealing with me.
Because when the biggest star in the league is talking about how heavy the pressure is, the organization around her has one job: protect her, not just physically, mentally, structurally, basketball-wise. They have to make the game easier for her. They have to give her rhythm. They have to give her certainty. They have to give her a system where she knows she is the engine, not just another piece being moved around the board. But that is not what fans feel like they are seeing. They feel like they are seeing Caitlin Clark forced to survive chaos. And that is why the Stephanie White conversation keeps getting louder. Because fans are not asking for perfection. They know the WNBA is hard. They know Clark will have bad shooting nights. They know Indiana will not win every game. But what they cannot accept is watching a coach fail to unlock the player everyone came to see.
She didn't practice yesterday. Why was she not listed on the injury report, or why wasn't the injury report updated like earlier today if she woke up with soreness in her back?
Well, not everybody that doesn't practice or gets a pro day is on the injury report, so that happens all the time. And she wasn't listed on the injury report earlier because we expected her to play.
And is she injured? I guess is a fair question. Is she injured, or is it something other than an injury?
Her back is sore. So if there's anything more detailed than that, that's the training staff.
Do you think the Fever could get fined for not listing her on the injury report?
No.
That is the part that feels unforgivable. Because when Caitlin Clark is on the floor and in rhythm, the entire building changes. Defenders panic. The crowd leans forward. Teammates get better looks. The game speeds up. One pass can break a defense. One three can flip the energy of the arena. One final possession can turn into a viral moment before the ball even leaves her hands. That is the Caitlin Clark experience. And that is what fans are buying. Not just a ticket to a Fever game, a ticket to watch something happen. But when fans do not know if Clark will play heavy minutes, if she will be used properly, if the offense will run through her, or if the team will waste another night looking disjointed, that excitement turns into frustration. And frustration eventually turns into empty seats. That is the part Indiana should be terrified of, because the fans are no longer just complaining online. They are starting to speak with their wallets. And when fans stop showing up for a team that has Caitlin Clark, that is not a small warning sign, that is a siren. Because Caitlin Clark should be the easiest ticket in the league to sell. Every game should feel like an event. Every homestand should feel like a celebration. Every road arena should be preparing for a Clark crowd. But if Indiana keeps making fans feel like they are gambling on whether they will actually get the full Caitlin Clark experience, the trust starts to break. And once trust breaks, the story becomes bigger than basketball. Now it becomes a question of loyalty. How long will fans keep supporting this version of the Fever? How long will Caitlin Clark keep absorbing the pressure? How long will Indiana keep asking the most important player in the league to carry everything without building the entire world around her? Because that is what this really comes down to. Caitlin Clark is not just another star. She is the business model. She is the ratings bump. She is the road crowd. She is the jersey sale. She is the reason casual fans are suddenly arguing about Fever rotations and WNBA attendance numbers. That does not mean she is bigger than the league, but it does mean the league and the Fever cannot pretend she is normal, because she is not. Normal players do not change ticket markets. Normal players do not turn regular season games into national talking points. Normal players do not have fans analyzing every bench reaction, every coaching decision, and every post-game comment like it is part of a bigger crisis. Caitlin Clark does, and that is why Indiana has to be careful. Because if the Fever waste this, fans will not forgive them. If Stephanie White keeps trying to prove her system, instead of building around Clark, fans will not stay quiet. If the front office keeps acting like Caitlin Clark's presence alone is enough, they are going to learn a brutal lesson. Attention is not guaranteed forever. You still have to earn it. You still have to protect it. You still have to feed it with a product people believe in. And right now, people are starting to question the product. Not Caitlin Clark, the Fever, the coaching, the structure, the decisions around her. That is the crisis. Because the Caitlin Clark era should feel like the beginning of something massive for Indiana. Instead, it already feels like the franchise is under pressure to prove it deserves her. And that is a dangerous place to be. Because when fans start saying a team is failing its superstar, that story can move fast. First, it is frustration. Then it is boycott talk. Then it is fire the coach. Then it is build around her properly. And eventually, it becomes the one question no franchise wants attached to its biggest star. Would she be better somewhere else? That is the conversation Indiana cannot allow to grow. Because once fans start imagining Caitlin Clark outside of Indiana, the Fever lose control of the narrative completely. And that is why every decision matters now. Every rotation, every benching, every late game possession, every explanation, every press conference, every single moment where Clark looks frustrated and the cameras catch it. The margin for error is gone. The Fever are no longer operating like a normal team. They are operating under the spotlight of the most watched player in women's basketball. And if Stephanie White cannot handle that pressure, the fans will keep making their message clear. Run the team through Caitlin Clark. Build the offense around Caitlin Clark. Give her rhythm, give her help, give her a real structure, or get out of the way. Because this is the truth. Caitlin Clark did not lose control of the Fever. The Fever lost control of the Caitlin Clark story, and once that happens, the fans take over. They decide what the story is. They decide who gets blamed. They decide whether the coach is trusted. They decide whether the organization is failing its star. And right now, the message from the fans is getting louder by the day. Indiana has the most important player in the WNBA. But they are not acting like it. And if they do not fix that fast, this season could turn into one of the biggest fumbles the league has ever seen. Because Caitlin Clark changed everything for the Fever. Now the Fever have to prove they are not going to waste it. If you're still watching, drop build around Clark in the comments.